may have already told you this, but none of us had any idea that we were auditioning for Zelda. Obviously, as big of a client as Nintendo, as big of a project as Zelda, like everything was super dupes, secret, under wraps, code names, using made up copy and made up names, for the auditions. So there wasn't like a hint of giving anything away. So I went through the entire audition and callback process having no idea what I was auditioning for, really. And it all took place in LA, which is pretty unusual. Usually you're allowed to do at least your first read remotely, and then sometimes they'll require you to come in person for callbacks, but I had to be there in person for both. And then my third trip out for this project was when I actually got cast and went to record for the first time. I showed up at the studio still not knowing what I was going to do.
Wow.
Waited in the waiting room. They escorted me into the booth and they were like, okay, why don't you just take a moment to get settled? We're going to get all of our stuff, kind of squared away on our end. Let us know if you need anything. And I'm still just kind of trying to play it cool, follow their lead, not ask too many questions. But I noticed that the script was on a mic stand. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll just go, glance over it while I'm waiting for them. And I started reading through it and saw, the word Hyrule. And immediately was just...
What was that moment like when you're like, oh my god, this...
Did you get chills and everything?
I actually got speechless. It was
ironic.
Right? It was both, I feel like, a smart and a cruel thing for them to do. Because it was such a shock, like the sudden knowledge of the enormity of what I was about to work on. But yet they didn't really give you any time to process it, because you basically discover what you're working on and then 30 seconds later they're like, all right, are you ready to start? And you have to snap back into your, professional state. So, I mean, in some ways I'm like, maybe this was a calculated move. Maybe this was kind of smart because I didn't have time to psych myself out.
So do you think that affected your performance either in a good or a bad way at all? Or were you able to kind of just snap it back in gear really quickly and do it? From my perspective, you did amazing. So I don't know if that helped or hurt.
For me, it helped because I'm lucky enough that I had a couple of years of experience in voiceover under my belt. So I was able to kind of make that shift fairly quickly into okay, work mode. This is just another job. Focus on the task at hand. Stay focused. Don't, get outside of yourself. I mean, when I got back to my car after the session, I absolutely started screaming and banging on, the steering wheel, almost.
Yes.
But for me, it was probably helpful that they didn't give us hardly any time to actually process what we were doing. And I had to just, like I said, just laser focus in on the job and not think about the context too much.
I think I would have psyched myself out. Yeah, if I knew that I was coming in for something as big as a Zelda, I think. So you're probably right. That's probably good.
I mean, in all honesty, I think I was more nervous the second round of recording that I went in than the first.